Alright folks, I'm going to try holding the camera here this time instead of setting it up on the dash. Maybe the audio will be a little better, I don't know. I ain't quite figured out why my audio timing is off on this thing sometimes, and sometimes it's not. And I haven't found anything in the GoPro editing software that will correct that yet, so might be there. I dug around in it, but I ain't found anything yet. So anyway, I'm on the road again, as you can see, and I'm kind of making another last minute purchase involving spraying and the spray rig and whatnot. I didn't necessarily want to make this purchase. It's been being run around for the past couple of weeks. It's not a terribly expensive purchase, but it's something over the past couple of years I kept thinking I'm going to at some point have to buy one of these. I'm sorry if the camera's a little shaky. Going over the Tennessee River right now. The bridge is a little bouncy. Anyway. What it is I'm getting is a nurse tank or nurse trailer. Some people call them a sprayer tender. But it's basically a 1,200 gallon tank on 4 wheels with a gas powered pump and some plumbing, and that about sums it up. Said it ain't too terribly expensive, but it was a little bit more than I wanted to put in something that's going to sit around most of the year. Not get used. I mean, it'll get used fairly heavy when I'm spraying, but when I'm not, it's not going to do very much. There are multiple reasons I'm going ahead and doing this. One of them is a problem with the co-op on getting liquid nitrogen. The first year I did wheat a couple years back, the Southern States was the co-op I was using. They've all shut down. They shut down. Going on close to 2 years now, year and a half, 2 years. Anyway, on my first wheat, what I had done, which was a very inexpensive way of doing it, which I didn't have a whole lot of wheat, so it worked. I went and picked up one of these 275 gallon totes. It's my GPS letting me know I need to make a turn. But anyway, which really wasn't a turn at all. It was an angle video. Yeah, I got one of those totes, so I got a couple of totes. And also the spray rig I had that you've seen in the other videos, the older one, the one I got for sale. I could pull it behind the truck. The Southern States Co-op was not that far, so they could fill those totes up with liquid nitrogen and fill my tank up with liquid nitrogen, and I was set to go for a little while. It was no big deal. They had a small gas-powered pump, 2-inch quick coupler connections, just coupled right up to those totes. It was no big deal. This past year, we got 2 more of those totes, and had to go to another co-op, which is about 45 minutes away, that had 32% liquid nitrogen. The other co-op that we have not been using because, number one, well, they're closer to us, which is good, but their number one problem is their prices are a little high. Number two problem is they don't carry 32% liquid nitrogen. They carry a 30% liquid nitrogen mix, which is kind of odd. Usually the two mixes are 28% or 32%. So we didn't go in there. So we had to make the 45-minute drive up there. We went up there last year. With the amount of weight we had to make a few trips with the totes. Those 275-gallon totes. Well, the co-op up here, they're north of the river. They deal with all the big farmers, mega farmers, whatever that's up here that do very large amounts of acreage. Their system that they've got set up for filling tanks with liquid nitrogen is very elaborate. It's very nice, give them that, but it's not set up to fill those totes. They have an overhead hanging pump system that is lowered up and down and basically made to go into a large tank. Straight trucks, or mostly what they've got is semi-trailers that have very large tanks on them. So we came up with the totes there last year, and they actually had to put an adapter on their downpipe, on their plumbing, to actually fit in the top of the lid of the totes, and it leaked. Got on my gooseneck trailer the first time we went, and it was just, and it pumps so fast. I mean, as soon as they turn that thing on, it nearly fills one of those totes up. It really moves a lot of liquid fast. And anyway, we got about a little over 1,000 gallons on that load, I think. Came home, put it out, went back up for the second load. There's a different guy running the system that time, and they got a new adapter to put on the tank so it didn't leak, but they overflowed a couple of the tanks, and it went all over my gooseneck trailer. And liquid nitrogen is corrosive. They did hose it off pretty well for me, but still, I just didn't like that stuff going everywhere. Their system just was not working with the totes. So this year, I had a few options to consider how I wanted to go about this. I really didn't want to go back up there with the totes up until this moment, or yesterday, when I made the decision to go get this nurse trailer. That's what we were going to be doing, was getting the totes going up there again. I just really hated that. I really don't have. I had my other spray rig rigged up where I could hook a hose to the tote, turn a couple of valves, and pull the liquid nitrogen out of the tote using the PTO pump and just filling my spray rig tank. It wasn't the speediest thing in the world, but it didn't take too long, and it worked. It got me back in the field going. My Hardy spray rig is not plumbed in such a way that I can do that. It will pull from a tank. I did put some water in one of the totes the other day when I had it out, and I did hook up to the fill port and let the pump, the Hardy pump, or the pump on the Hardy pull from the tote. It was very slow. The problem is there's not a shut-off valve to pull off flow from the main tank of the spray rig and force it to pull solely from another tank. So it's pulling from the main tank and the other tank at the same time, and it just don't pull a lot in. So I knew, number one, I was already going to have to buy a pump, a of some sort to move the liquid nitrogen from the tanks, the totes, or whatever tank I had. Those are going to range one that will, a good one that will pump and not succumb and destroy itself pumping liquid nitrogen is going to be $450 to $500 new. Don't really see them out there used on Craigslist much, and I don't want to buy something that's going to give me trouble, because timing is everything on spraying wheat. I do make multiple applications on my wheat. I do not go out once and it's done. I'm going to make multiple passes. Once with herbicide and liquid nitrogen, and another pass or two with the remaining liquid nitrogen using streamers and cut with water to reduce burn. I have hardly no burn on my wheat. I've seen the co-ops go out on other people's wheat and put out the full, say, 100 units of nitrogen and herbicide with fan tips and burn the fire out of wheat. That does, in my opinion, I believe some people would argue this, but that does hurt your yield, I believe, because you are stunting that wheat at a critical time where it needs to be, growing and developing, get roots, nutrients, and, for making a good yield. But anyway, I was faced with having to get a pump. The other option I had was just going and buying a large storage tank and having the co-op come out and deliver it. They were a little iffy on the delivery. They said they would, try it once and see, which bothered me because I was afraid once they found out how far it was for them to drive across the river and down to their place, that they was either going to start charging me an arm and a leg or quit doing it at all. They already told me they'd charge anywhere from $10 to $20 per ton extra for the delivery. I got a feeling it'd be more than that, because they're going to have fuel costs driving down their back, and they want to deliver a whole truckload when they come. They don't want to just do a little amount, and there's times that I don't, only need a little bit to finish up, which puts a wrench in that. So storage tanks, if I bought a couple of big storage tanks, it was going to cost me over half of what it would cost me to just buy this nurse trailer tank, pump on it and everything already. So that was that option. I looked for some tanks I could put on my gooseneck trailer, large tanks. They're more expensive than the storage tanks that you might set on the ground, and you have to use bands and lag bolting the trailer and all that. And I just really didn't want to drill holes in my trailer and have to mount it and unmount it and that all the time that I needed it. The other consideration I was taking into effect was water. Where the farm is at, there's not city water plumbed up there. There is actually a well pump feeding the farm there, and when I have to use garden hose to get water for a long period of time, it does heat that pump up. In the past, when my dad was doing row crops, he would fill up a 500-gallon tank, and it had ran well dry a couple of times for a brief period of time, filling up that tank. So at my house, I do have connection to city water and good pressure. So I was wanting to also have something set up where I could fill up a tank with water, and when I'm out doing burn downs and spraying beans with Roundup, I could get water quickly out of the tank and get back to the field and get more done in a day. Time is money. If you do any farming, you understand what I mean by that. So, all in all, everything was pointing towards going ahead and getting the nurse tank and trailer. I could have got by this year without having to do it if I went back up with the totes, but I would have risked getting liquid nitrogen on my new gooseneck trailer. Possibly with them overflowing it, I would have had to buy a pump and some more hoses and plumbing, and that's just all money that I'd have to turn around and put back into a nursing trailer. Eventually, anyway. I have scoured Craigslist for a used one. I've looked all over. What I have found out there used was over half of what this trailer's costing me, and they weren't in very decent shape. Some of them were mounted on wagons. I wanted it mounted on a trailer, kind of a tandem axle deal, so I could pull it long distances, because we're going to have to drive to the co-op, get that stuff, bring it back, pump it in tote, spray rig, go back, get more, etc. Which I won't have to make too many trips, but it will allow me to go get a large amount of time and have it, and it will take care of the water situation. This thing they've plumbed it fairly neat. It will actually have a garden hose connection that runs up to the top of the tank. It has some valves. You can park it at the house, hook the water hose up at night, go in, relax a little bit, come out later and check out and have it ready to go for the next day. But yeah, that's the situation. I'm headed to get it now. There's another gripe. This all started about 2 weeks ago. I looked at a trailer at the National Farm Machinery Show when I was up there, made by Duo-Lift, which is what I'm getting. It's a 1,200 gallon cone bottom tank, so it drains out completely. It was on a pretty heavy built trailer. It was just a nice design, and it's reasonably priced. It's just the nearest place that carried any of them is Ohio Valley Ag, and they're in the very southern part of Kentucky is their nearest location. So that's where I'm driving today. This will be the third time I've been to Kentucky this year, and it is the last day of February. So when I started dealing with them on it, I called them. They said, yeah, we got a trailer. It's not plumbed up yet, but if you let us know by the next day, we'll get it in the shop plumbed up. We've got a guy headed down to Alabama to do a service call on a self-propelled spray rig. I said, oh, so he can just pull it behind the service truck? Yeah. I said, what are you going to charge us? Oh, he's headed down there anyway. We won't charge him for freight, shipping, and whatnot. I said, well, that sounds good. Where they were bringing it was within 30-40 minutes of the farm. I was like, well, I'll just pick it up at that guy's farm, no big deal. I was like, all right, well, we'll get plumbed up, it'll work out great. I said, let's do it. So I told him that, I think early that next morning. Later that afternoon, I get a call, and the guy says, we got a problem, we're not going to be able to bring it down there. Our upper management says it's not a good idea, and blah, blah, blah. That ticked me off, and I just about decided I wasn't going to give them my money for doing that, because they had told me, and I double-checked with them twice, you are going to be able to bring this down. Oh, yeah, we'll bring, no big deal. We'll just hook it behind the service truck, bring it. Then they called me and said they couldn't do it. And I said, okay, so I've got to come get it now. Well, yeah, it'd be the best thing to do. I told them, well, let me think about it. So when they called me, we were on the road trying to get home. It was snowing and sleeting. It took us 3 hours to get home in a normal 45-minute drive. So I got back with him the next day. The guy, it was Saturday that day, he told me he'd be there. He wasn't there, so I had to wait till the next Monday. Got the guy, said, okay, what's our options? Is there any other way of getting this thing down here, or have I got to come up there and get it? pretty much told me the only way I was going to get it was if I came and got it. So, that kind of made me mad. I told him I'd think about it a few days. I started looking around again, trying to find one, looking for a used one, because I thought, well, for the money I'm spending, I could use one would be fine. I could come up with anything decent used, and it seemed to have the right price on it. So long story short, I know this is already a long story, but I'm driving up to Kentucky, Ohio Valley Ag, to buy this thing just because there ain't any other ones around here. There is another company over in Georgia that has some, but they're higher priced, and they're not this cone bottom style tank. I kind of like this design. The company, Duo Lift, you can look them up. They have a 1,200 and 1,600 gallon version of this thing. Anyway, this Ohio Valley Ag, I did like their plumbing setup. With the pump, they buy the trailers with no plumbing, and they do their own plumbing using a Honda pump, and banjo ball valves, fittings. It's got a filter. This will take care of the filter situation on the Hardy sprayer. This has a filter going into the pump on the nurse trailer, so everything that goes through that tank will be filtered going into the Hardy sprayer. So what I will do is I will run everything through this nurse trailer, liquid nitrogen, and then what I'm going to do with the water starting out, when I'm running liquid nitrogen, what I'm going to do is I'll get water first. I'll fill up my totes that I have them sitting on the ground, and then I'll fill them up, have my water on hand to pump out, and I'll then go get my liquid nitrogen and have it in the nurse trailer. But what the plumbing they've done on this nurse trailer is they've got it plumbed in such a way that you can pull from the nurse tank, or you can turn it around and pull from another tank using the pump on the trailer. So that allowed me to pump anything I've got out of a tote through and into the Hardy sprayer, and I believe I can still go through that filter. So all in all, my heart was set getting this nurse trailer. But anyway, I hated to spend the money on it right now, even though it ain't a lot of money. I just, it's one of those things. Maybe I'll look back on it and think it was well spent, good timing to go ahead and get it. I think it will be. It'll solve a lot of problems in one. Even though I wish I could have done it a little cheaper, but still it ain't bad. But yeah, I'm on my way. I'm about to cross into Tennessee. Thanks for watching my long-winded video if you've made it this far. I'll get some video of it put up, show you. Some of you might be interested in these trailers that have row crops and spray. I think it's a well-built trailer. So, like I said, I'm not buying it sight unseen, because I did see one at the National Farm Machinery Show and got to talk to a rep from the Duo Lift manufacturing company. It was one of the nicer nurse trailers that I looked at there. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll keep on trucking here, and we'll get this thing and get it home. Again, it's the last day of February. I think the past couple of years I was gearing up full steam to spray, but we still got snow on the ground from our last little 10-inch snow event we had 2 days ago. So, and they've got rain forecasted all next week. So, wheat spraying is going to be delayed. We're going to have the temperatures next week. It's going to be in the mid-60s. forecasting thunderstorms, but it's going to be too wet. The ground's already mushy from the snow and freezing and thawing, and it's this rain coming. It is going to be extremely wet. So when the conditions line up, it is going to be a mad dash to get over these fields, and that's where I'm hoping some stuff's going to start paying off. The larger sprayer, covering more ground in twice the amount, half the amount of time. The nurse trailer, having it on hand, having all the water. A lot of planning and preparation, thinking ahead going into this, and I hope it all starts paying off. This is what it was all done for. So anyway, thanks for watching my long-winded video. If I put this all in one part, I may split it into two because it's already 26 minutes. But anyway, we'll get up there and get this thing. I'll get you some video of it so you can see what it is. Thanks for watching. See you.